Hi, my name's Andrew Webb, also known as Flossy. I was formerly fighting in Australia. Now I am fighting out of Woodenman Muay Thai in San Francisco, USA. Well, I was training weights at a gym that I worked at when I was like 14, 15 with one of the guys that I work with at the computer shop, and we weren't enjoying it too much. One of the guys that came in to get his computer fixed was a kickboxer. So like, we plug his computer in, there's like him kicking someone in the head as the background, and we're like, all right, that looks pretty cool. I want to go and watch you fight one day. And then he got us some free tickets, and we went down and watched him, and he broke the dude's arm in round number 1, and we're like, oh, that was sick. It was really fun to watch. It was the first exposure to like live fighting I've ever seen. He took us back to his area and took us to a gym. From there, we just fell in love. When I started, kickboxing was still the dominant sport in Australia. Like, not to say Muay Thai wasn't there yet, but the gradual change for the first 5 years was like kickboxing and Muay Thai, and then it overtook and kickboxing took a back seat. There was all sorts of different rules, modified Thai rules, no knees to the head, no elbows, but you could clinch longer. Kickboxing for me when I started was just hands and legs. There was no clinch, no elbow, no nothing.
Do you remember what your first class was like?
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. I went to watch. I just wanted to check it out, the first one, and I sat down in the corner. I was 16 years old, very quiet when I'm around new people, but once you get to know me, I'm a bit louder. I sat down in the corner, and the trainer came up to me and goes, "What are you doing?" And I went, "Oh, I just come to watch a class," because my friend had already done one. And he's like, "All right, get down and do some push-ups." Bearded, tattoos, and I was like, okay.
And before you got into that, were you into any other kind of sports?
Yeah, mostly like soccer. I played soccer for 10, 11 years before I gave it up to fight, because it started crossing over into the training.
How long have you been training now?
18, almost 19 years. Yeah, 19 years in August.
What was the Muay Thai competitive scene like? Because you guys are closer to Thailand than we are, right? Did you guys get a lot of influence from Thailand?
Most definitely. There was some trainers coming over at the time, not at my gym, but other gyms around. There's more now than there was before. Most of the top level gyms in Australia have a Thai trainer, or 2 or 3 even, some of the places now. It's only an 8-hour flight from Sydney, so I got to go twice. I wish I went more when I was younger, but I was too busy spending money on cars. When I started to not go out, not party, all my friends were having their birthdays, and I'd come out and I'd be the designated driver because I wasn't drinking. And then when it started taking over like social events, like weddings, birthdays, and I couldn't go because I had a fight coming up, or one of my teammates was fighting, that's when I knew it was pretty full on for me. I first went and watched a couple of my trainers' shows. He used to put on promotions, so I'd watch a few of them, and then you get to know the people from our gym that were fighting. I would go watch them fight, and then after a couple times in the first year, I was like, I'd like to give that a go. You know, it grows on you after a while. And then a year later, I had my first fight. It was intense. I had no idea what I was going to feel once I walked into that ring, but just walking out there was like, the adrenaline build up was wild. I'd never felt anything like that before. I won the fight in the second round, and at that point we were doing 3.5 minute rounds, 1.5 minute rounds. I was under 18. We had pads on at that point. That was the only fight I had in pads. I was glad it was over in the middle of the second round, because that 1.5 minutes, the first round, was the longest 1.5 minutes of my life. We didn't have too many smokers or development days when I started. It was straight into the ring, amateur fight. You might do like a inter-club sparring from amateurs, go into pros, because by my 6th fight we weren't wearing pads and we were doing full Thai rules, knees and elbows to the head as amateurs. The only difference was no pay and shorter rounds, so 2-minute rounds instead of 3-minute rounds.
Walk me through a little bit about that transition going from an amateur to a pro. What were some of the adjustments you had to make?
The changes that I had to make was definitely with the training. I had to like step my game up a lot more. Started lifting, strength and conditioning training, more training on the mats in Muay Thai. Mental-wise, it was probably already there, as we'd been fighting those rules for a long time, so that wasn't much of a change for me.
You as a fighter, did you feel as if the level of competition was any different from your highest level amateur to your first pro?
See, it's different here because I had 26, 27 fights as an amateur in Australia, and then people here are having like 5 or 6 fights and turning as a pro. Sometimes there's a little level change with some fighters. In the amateurs, I was fine fighting them, but then like some in the pros, they also had 30 amateur fights.
When you came here, what were some of your big goals with Muay Thai?
All right, so my wife moved her company out here in 2018. I followed over. I had to wait for a work visa. So I had maybe 6 to 9 months of waiting for that paperwork to roll through because I had to be in the country to apply for it. During that time, I decided to start training again, so I wasn't just sitting at home. When I moved here, I was probably 3 or 4 years off of fighting at that point. I worked an office job. I was still coaching people, but I wasn't taking care of my own body. So when I got here, I started training, started finding a feel for it again, and then eventually started fighting again once I dropped the weight. Alex was already training at Rise with Bunkert and Nuxiam, so I just went over there and started joining in with that. Even though El Nino was down the road and Jongsanan was there, I didn't really want the MMA part of it. I wanted more Muay Thai, so I just went with Bunkert and Nuxiam. So when I was fighting back home, a lot of the amateur fights, if you were from out of town or interstate, so if it was a fair drive, the promoter would pay for the hotel, the flights, your fuel, your food, your team to come up and look after you, and then that would be reciprocated when they came down for us as well. Whereas here I find you got to pay to play, you got to pay your own way to get places. In the amateurs, that is, as pros, they should be paying you to come down. Still, some people aren't.
How'd you get your nickname Flossy?
I was, this is before my first fight actually. I was complaining about something in the gym. I still do it now. One of the boys, he called me Fairy Floss, which is cotton candy here. He was saying that I was being soft, so my trainer wrote that down and that became my fight name, and it evolved to Flossy.
Tell me a little bit about your upcoming fight.
All right, I'm fighting on April the 22nd in Burbank, which is down in LA. So if you want to come down, check it out. It's a WCK Dennis Warner promotion. Fight camp's been really good. I've had 8 weeks. It's probably the first time I've had a full 8-week fight camp since I've been here. Training's really good. I got Matt and Connor. They've been helping me out with my sparring and my movement. Jongsanan's been fixing up some of my technique. Nungsiam's been putting me through the ringer. I got Ben, Shelby and Neil putting me through my strength and conditioning programs, and I'm really grateful for the help and support. When we were training with Bunkert and Nungsiam, we were just doing pads together, and that was it. There was no one else to really feed off of. Since coming here, there's 3 or 4 pro fighters. So when Nungsiam had the opportunity to come over here, I basically came with him that day, and it's really helped me step my game up. Jongsanan's probably the one that assimilated the most out of the Thai guys that came over. So he has a very good way of explaining it to foreigners, like the Thai style to foreign fighters, which is really beneficial when some of the other guys, their English isn't so good, so they don't have that opportunity to translate as well. But I feel with Jongsanan, it's direct, we know what we need to do, and he helps us along the way.
What can people expect to see from Flossy in this next fight?
I'm gonna control the pace. My Muay Thai is better. He likes to kickbox. He's a long, rangy fighter, but I'm also long, so he's gonna have a shock fighting another guy that's his height and his weight. I don't have a problem with that, especially with some of the taller guys in here that are 200 pounds plus that I've been working with. So if I can deal with that on a daily basis, I can deal with that for 4 rounds. Right now is just to try and stay active. That's been one of the hardest things since turning pro in the United States. Short-term goal would probably be capture a national pro WBC title. That's the goal, and then build on it from there. I've never been one to say I want a world title, I want this, I want that. I just want to take my steps and work my way up the ladder. I think at some point we'll end up back in Australia. It all depends on how my wife's company goes, but I would like to open a gym back in Australia. It's hard to think what my life would be like without Muay Thai. I was a pretty stray kid, you know, running amok on the streets, but this pulled me in line. I have left and come back to Muay Thai. As I said, I've had a few breaks over the years, but it's kept me on the right track, and I think it will continue to do that until I retire.
Who has been some of the bigger role models in Muay Thai for you?
Probably my first trainer, Paul Grimer. He dealt with a lot of my shit growing up. He knew how to train me for a start, but he knew how to communicate with me as well on a level that I'd understand. Ajahn Chai, one of my old Thai trainers as well. He come over every year now with all the Thai trainers in the Bay Area that I've been working with. Bunkert, Nungsiam, Jongsanan now, Sang Tin Noi in Thailand. They're probably my biggest role models. So you'll see me fighting on April the 22nd. From there, we'll hopefully find some more opponents quicker and more active, get the ball rolling this year. It was hard after COVID, so we want to level up and get the team leveled up too. So any of the promoters out there listening to this, we've got a whole bunch of amateurs and pros here that we want to level up together with. All right, thanks. My name is Andrew Webb, also known as Muay Thai Flossy. You can add me on Instagram with that handle, and it was awesome to chat with you.